Yeah, so looking at right now, we have a little over $40,000, so approximately 41,102 left in ledger service. We almost spent 17,000 per meter. Okay, we can now move into academy updates. First up, we have the director.
Okay. Thank you. So a couple of my updates are, I'm obviously still working with Dr. Toby Egan, who I'm hoping to bring to come talk on either December 3rd or December 10th this last year. To give you guys a brief overview of the course for our course that's running next semester. And again, as you mentioned, it is optional. Yeah, I'm working with R&T right now to work on our undergraduate TA training survey. Working with S&P because we're working on some Senate resolutions for the Title IX syllabus clause and our undergraduate TA training requirements. And I'm assuming the TLTC to discuss that further this Friday. And then for my initiatives, as we mentioned, the SGA course, you guys should be able to register on Custudo by Thanksgiving. Right now, we're just having issues with the SIS, how it gets on Custudo. We're having issues with making it permission only because only SGA officers can take it, so it has to be permission only. The time is not finalized. We're waiting on committee schedules because it's going to happen during when we go to walks and have their committees. Because, like, for example, right now, is the example, there's no committee from 5 to 6 p.m. on Tuesday, so like, that could be an option, but we have to wait to see what the committee schedule is for spring. And the syllabus was finalized and shared out. The syllabus has been finalized and approved by everyone needed. It was shared and discussed in my committee last night, and there are no major concerns for the syllabus. If any of you guys, I'm not going to share the syllabus tonight, but if you guys have any specific concerns or anything, or have any specific questions, please come report to me. We're still trying to find a location for the course, but that will not be an issue because there are spaces available. For the TA training survey, like I mentioned, we're working with SMP based on the results, and we're bringing that to the provost office attention. We have 2 meetings scheduled the last week of classes with different members of the provost office to discuss the findings of that survey and how we can potentially change policy. Based on those meetings, we're looking into writing the University Senate resolutions to hopefully start mandating some trainings. And then I'm also talking with R&T right now about running a second survey in January at the start of the semester when new TAs are starting. So with incentives to hopefully get more responses and more feedback. And then finally, we're talking about professional sports through main point advising meetings that students undergo every semester for free law and free medical students. So, yeah.
Any questions? Go ahead, Steve.
Do you know if there's any way for the SGA course to be like cross-listed with government politics or no? So it's right now. So yeah, it's right now. It's going to be 2 credit course in the policy school. So if it's going to be registered for government politics, cross reference is going to really know that. I don't do that because it's considered a STIC, a student initiated course. Yeah. So and it's also only 2 credits, so it can fully replace a class if you're looking at it and trying to count as a GUPT elective. So.
Go ahead, Alina.
So my question is, if it fills any of the gen ed requirements like EVUP, DSHS, SCIS, like does it fill that out? And how many seats are you trying to fill within this course?
So at the side, the course is running as 2 credits this semester because we were on such a quick turnaround. In order to be able to run next semester for you guys, it has to be 2 credits in STIC. We're looking at making it 3 credits this coming fall, or fall 26, which is when we could talk about potentially covering gen ed requirements. That's a whole other can of worms. We have to basically see how this course goes now. And then as of how many seats, it's open to any SGA officers. So was that like 34 legislators? The cabinet members. So the only people, as I mentioned, the only people that can't take it are Diego, Riona, Drew Rock, and Asia. And so that subtract that from the amount of SGA officers, and that's how many seats we are open to filling. And including deputy directors. So.
Yeah, there's a little point of information that's about like 70-ish people who can apply for the course.
And we're not going to deny anyone who's an SGA officer from taking it. It just has to be permission based on Custudo. So we don't have people who aren't an SGA taking the course.
Sounds good. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. Okay, we can now move on to the director of office.
Okay, hello everyone. I have a lot of updates from each before, but as for the reset, I'm still working on the projects page with the semester's initiatives. And I do want to add the fall weather updates to that list. And after I am done up, I'm going to start updating the guides page. Um, but yeah, if you have any like SJ related photos from like initiatives or events or even like just from me or anything like that, you can send them to the photos channel in Slack because I want to kind of populate the website with photos. And for the info poster, we decided to put all the posters through Sort just so it's easier to manage and not a lot of working parts. And we are still finishing up the build to fund those posters. And for the newsletter, I reached out to the president of GSG for details about how they implemented their opt-out newsletter, since we're having trouble with that. And so hopefully we can kind of follow their steps to implement our yeah, that's kind of it for me. My forms are always down there if you guys need
Any questions for the director? Seeing none, thank you so much. Okay, and then move on to the directors of R&D.
So I'll begin by specifying careers, what I said before. For anyone who feels uncomfortable with me delivering these updates, please, I will step down and have my wonderful deputy move out. Please let me know. Okay. Okay, so Thanksgiving is right around the corner, so hopefully we'll be out of classes soon. We did complete the ABTS survey. Basically, we're interested in figuring out how other Big Ten schools directly communicate with their students, whether they use by email or by other means. So we're gonna talk to other Big Ten student government heads and figure out what those methods are and how we encourage us to pursue these methods on our own. The undergraduate TA survey, which we're very proud of disclosing student experience outcomes and responses. So if anyone would like to fill out last minute, or if any of your friends fill it out, please absolutely do that. We are working on two different bills to promote survey incentives. One is to try to fund raffles or some other means of so that we can get more input from the student body, hopefully try to represent a little bit higher. We're also trying to fund our own speaking owl for the for GPMs and for other events, so that we don't have to keep renting this one. Which we think will be will be saving funds in the long term. We are also making progress with the IT Advisory Council. We've been speaking a lot with Andrew, and right before GPM came in to go to another event of this, we'll be figuring out our schedule and trying to get more collaboration with Jack on some of their initiatives for GA as well. Thank you so much.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. Okay, we can now move on to the director of DEI.
Hey guys, so I'm not reading you can read it, but it was a lot of meetings back to back. But I will say that it's my job as DI director, but my responsibility to ensure that all student voices are heard and up to date with the current climate within SGM. And with the bias and mistreatment that's going on currently within our government, that's not how student government is ran. With my 3 years of being here within SGA, I haven't seen how student government like this, and it's very divided. And we can't be student voices if we don't listen to student voices within our own government. So that's your updates for today. You can look at the means. So thank you.
With that being said, and in line with the many student concerns we've heard today, and in line with the petition of 83 people that has been submitted to the Speaker of the Legislature today, I would like to make a direct call for the impeachment and subsequent investigation of Student Body President Jabal Khamenei.
The year. So, as we spoke again once before last.
Object.
Okay, there's been no objections. We will now enter a period of debate. There will be 10 minutes split equally on both sides. We will have 5 minutes for the affirmative and 5 minutes for the negative.
What a parliamentary procedure,
Yes.
is that something that we can do as an action?
So the way this works, it's not a direct call for impeachment since that's not standard rules board works. It's not a motion, it's a direct call for impeachment and subsequent investigation, which is to say that with a simple majority, this body can vote to mandate the ethics committee to investigate the president for impeachment, basically. No, this mandates the ethics committee to do so. Yes. Yes. Seeing that there's been an objection, as I said before, we will now enter your debate. The affirmative would be the ones who are on the behalf, will be arguing on behalf for this direct call for impeachment and subsequent investigation. So who would like to chair that? Okay, Andre. And who would like to chair the negative? Okay. We have two chairs of course. So since you were the one who objected first, negative always goes first. So remember always to read Edward Patrick that says it's seek to yield as much time as that makes.
Thanks, Marcus. I see you as a time, sir. So yeah, so we going to the finance here as the motion is like we finance to impeach President Carl years. Yeah. And there's some brief business Jones, that's when it's the file, mentioning that before I continue with this, I just want to specifically the exact rounds for the, I want to specifically define. I'm just gonna yield my time, just to define, just so we can just define why president should
I will just say that's not how that switching gears is. You just you reserve your time back to the chair, and then I'll just bounce over to.
I reserve my time.
Okay. 7 out of 10, you can bounce over here to the firm.
Alright, so the main reasoning is first and foremost that he is not doing his job to his student body to represent them properly, as evidenced by the many student concerns we've had and the many incidents I have heard of. Previously, the second one is that he did not follow the proper guidelines because he stated that he fired his director over ethics violations, but the thing is, he does not have that power that rests on the ethics committee. And I have confirmation that there was no such ethics investigation done because the former director would have been emailed. She was not. So therefore, this is an abuse of power or used to target someone. And if it was just or not, that's not up for me to decide, it's for ethics to decide, but they did not have that opportunity. I reserve my time if anyone else wants to speak on behalf of the firm.
Who would like to speak?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Leanne.
I just feel within my
Sure. Remember to say the thing on the back. Yeah,
I seek to yield as much time as I may consume.
thank you.
I just want to say, as the first year representative, I have a very large constituency to represent, and based on my constituency, not my own beliefs, I feel that our current president has disconnected with our constituency, especially first year representatives, and with somebody as one of our BSU freshman council presidents also supports the motion to impeach, as he was the one who shared with the freshman class of the petition that was sent within the BSU. So just as a reflection on my constituency, I just do not believe that in my personal opinion and the opinion of my constituency, that our current president is the right person to lead not only the SGA, but our student body because of failures to even address current problems, effectively addressing current problems within our own SGA between whether it be directors or legislators or just any issues, because the lack of leadership and the lack of accountability on his own part is just, I see it, and my constituency sees it as ill-fitting for the position that does come president, and when you take into consideration the benefits that one has when being SGA president. So I just would like to, how do I
You yield back the time.
yield back my time? That's just my comment on the situation.
Give those back over to you.
Would anyone else like to speak on behalf of the affirmative? No? Okay. Okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna also say that many of her constituents, which are a very large base, should strive to listen. As many of these freshmen, this is, well, it might not be, it is their first experience with a university level student government, and we should do our best to show them that we are correct to represent them. And if they do not feel represented by us, that is a gross act of negligence on our part. And we should listen to our registers. We should listen to those that we were voted into power by. Point blank. I yield my time back to the speaker.
Thank you. Since the time has been yielded back to me, we'll pass over to you again.
Thank you very much. So I just want to break down. So the first argument that that Rosada is making is that the president is derelict his job, and that is why this occurred. I would say it's quite the opposite. I believe the president or student government fulfilled his obligations by carrying out all of his actions in this process. So I just want to begin by sort of going into the fact that the student body president is allowed per the bylaws to dismiss members who are not doing their job. And part of that job includes interacting with the other members in a way that is in line with student code of conduct, in line with the ethics. So part of doing your job as a legislator, as a cabinet, isn't just ticking off the box responsibilities. It also means that you're able to interact with other members of the cabinet and the executive branch in a way that allows it to function. In fact, this memo did not allow it to function. The cabinet had to meet virtually. They were able to meet in person. This member escalated, and I have further recording. This member has escalated in a point where there is it was unbecoming of a member of cabinet escalated to this sense. And I really do call for both sides to release this recording because I believe it would reveal clearly the situation at hand here. I believe also that it is up to the discretion of the president to fire a member. First of all, the member of the cabinet that was fired is would be sort of like there is no justification needed. There is no extreme justification beyond not doing their job. And that's a wide discretion, and because of the nature of an executive cabinet, there's a wide definition to that term. Second, brings us to the guidelines, right? So we're saying there should be an ethics investigation initiative. I would argue no. Nowhere does it say there needs to be an ethics investigation for this to occur. Simply, the members not doing their job. And that includes not allowing their job and the job of those around them to function properly. And it is my understanding from extensive testimony in closed and open session that is what happened. In addition, I believe, and I'm coming to the conclusion that this member that is behind this impeachment, not the member of the legislature, rather, the member of the cabinet, is coming out of a place of sort of retribution and sort of for being fired, and using this as a attempt to claim this is unjust. In fact, this is simply a procedural matter. No cabinet can be expected to function when there is a member of the cabinet making other members of the cabinet feel they're in danger for that testimony in open and closed session in the context. And the recordings and evidence are clear. This is it is a cut and dry case. Whether you are a fan of the student body president, whether you are the cabinet member that testified in the closed session today, is not of a parent map. The fact is, the student body can follow the laws in the bylaws, exercise stability to the T, and no wrongdoing was committed. And I know my that share. I just want to learn to speaker. Yeah.
I think it would be wrong to say that nothing, procedurally went or everything was okay with what happened. I see a lot of issues. I also have a lot of questions that haven't really been answered yet because I don't want to assume the intentions of the student body president, and I also want to know if any actions were taken to address the situation. Because frankly, we're in an embarrassing position as a body. All of our business is out there, and we weren't able to handle it internally. But I want to ask questions about that, so I don't feel ready at this time to impeach.
Anytime that. Thank you. So now since the is that for now, steps back to the affirmative, you may continue.
I seek to as much time as I may take. First of all, Zach, since you saw the recording and that means a previous testimony about not being comfortable erasing it was a complete lie. Second off, you stated that no matter that we have a clear picture of the story. We do not, because we did not let one side speak at any sort of to the legislature whatsoever. So I do believe that you're right, we don't have all the facts. So it would be in our best interest if this motion does not pass to let the former director give her side of the story because as the director of recruitment and retention added, there were many holes in the story that still need to be filled. Probably. I yield my time back to the speaker.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on that? So the reason why she hasn't been able to probably address the legislature aside from student concerns is that she's not per dismissal of an officer. So there is not like a time for the only time for them to speak would be because she's a student going off her status quo. She can only speak during student concerns. So at that point, we would have to be suspending parliamentary procedure. Huh? Yes, that. If you're to suspend parliamentary procedure, that is to say that you will be entering a committee of the whole. Yes. It's the temporary shut. Essentially, what that means when we enter a committee of the whole, what that means is that we will be suspending parliamentary procedure and we will be having a much more casual and informal conversation since we don't have to follow the strict, speaker recognized through. Thing is that to enter a committee of the whole, we have a motion, and I think that is the 2/3 majority actually. Sure.
I think a lot of people don't really know like both sides of the issue. If there's two sides to the issue, and they're only one and one because of like how the parliamentary procedure, I guess. So if you guys are willing and want to hear your side of the story, which I think a lot of you do, I am recommending that we suspend parliamentary procedure just to hear her out, and then maybe we can make a better, more informed decision.
Okay. So to enter a committee of the whole, you must specify who has speaking rights,
Oh,
who is allowed to talk. You must also specify if it is an open or closed session. You must also specify the time or if it's indefinite. And you must also specify who will chair the committee of the whole.
I want to ask the party role for the thing. Like, yeah, I decided
Yeah.
LGBTQ, but
Because I was saying, a closed session, that means like everyone's gonna have to leave again, including Moby.
oh wait, okay, no, okay, yeah, that was my sense. Okay, so as I said, everyone can hear, you're gonna be open session, just to get excited, so when Moby will be allowed to speak, then
Let's see.
if he feels up to it.
Right. I'm giving you guys the option to speak, I'm giving you guys the silent story. Actually, for me, I'll give a chance, this majority, so I guess this one.
Okay, so you want to specify who is speaking right? Okay, so does the legislature have speaking rights as well? So it'll just be us and only. Okay, so the motion on the floor right now, so we are motioning to enter committee of the whole with speaking rights for the legislature and LP. Is it an open or a closed session? Open session for how long? Okay, for 15 minutes.
I think it's not, this one, it's the last one.
Okay, so it's 15 minutes. And who'll be chairing committee of the whole? You'll chair? You'll be doing what I'm doing.
Can we get the leader to?
Yes. It's up to the legislature.
Okay.
Okay, yes, so the motion on the floor is to enter a committee of the whole with speaking rights for the legislature and Mofi. It's an open session. The time is for 15 minutes and the chair will be the speaker of the legislature. The only way to get out of this is a motion to write a report, which also requires a 2/3 vote. So, have you made the motion?
You will be just a.
Okay, that's already the motion. The motion's been seconded. We will now to repeat voting. Like I said, let's take the 2/3 majority, so all those in favor. Take all those opposed. Is there any opposed? Okay, all those abstaining. Okay, with a vote of 26-02, we will now enter a committee of the whole. So what this means is that this will be a very informal conversation, so Mofi, you can come up to the podium.
Hi guys, I'm gonna start at the very inception of my history with my progression in the SGA. So once upon a time, we were having during the SGA retreat, if you guys remember, I met a lot of you during that time. But when the cab like went downstairs to go have their little, exec meeting, I was giving the updates for the DEI committee, and I was like, uh, I was giving my update for the DEI committee. I was like, we're moving away slightly from the Hispanic Heritage Month initiative. By the way, this was the exact verbiage that Drew used when he told me and Amaya to do so, because Hispanic Heritage Month was running out of time, because Hispanic Heritage Month was between 15th and the 15th, and we were running out of time. And so I said that, and Mateo asked a question and said, cool, why are we moving away from Hispanic Heritage Month? And then Drew said, there's a lot of context to that. And then I replied, and I gave the whole context. We were running out of time, so we wanted to move on to other initiatives. Next thing I know, a couple days later, I get a Slack message from Drew saying that he felt that I singled out Mateo with my answer. And when I reported to ethics, because I felt singled out because I don't remember doing anything to Mateo. I don't know. All I did was answer a question. They came back to me with a report of Mateo basically calling my response to him aggressive. And I was like, what did I do? All I did was answer a question. So that was the beginning of the microaggressions, the aggressive word. Andrew, this is not the first time you're gonna hear that tonight. He used it a lot in his OSC, what's it called? His OSC statement about the incident on Tuesday, November the 4th. A lot of the aggressive word, just over and over again. So next thing I know, I'm in the SGA office. Me and Andre, CMNS representative, were in the office.
I want to say you may not mention Mateo's name.
Okay.
It's due to the no comment.
But how do I refer to him if
You may refer to him as a director.
the director, it's a lot of directors.
Director of R&D.
The director. Okay, the director of R&T. So I was sitting on the couch with my eyes closed, waiting for Andre to print out stuff because I don't know how to use the FGA printer. I was waiting for Andre to print out stuff for the Hidden Disability Initiative. If you guys remember, I was going to put those flyers up. It was me and Andre in the office when the director and the other director approached me and said, "Quote, our committee is about to start." I said, "Well, pause." I was like, "What's that going to do with me though?" And then as a joke. And then the director doubled down and said, "Cool, we just wanted to have space for our committee members." I'm sure we're all aware of the format of the FGA office. There are like over 20 seats. It was just, mind you, Andre was there. Andre didn't, nothing was said to Andre. Apparently, my presence was just so terrible and took up so much space, I couldn't be there. And I was like deeply offended. I was like, it's whatever, it's a Tuesday or whatever. So I say, quote, "I'm just here to get my shit printed out. Like, I won't be here for your committee. I'm going to leave." I leave to go put up the posters. I come back and I'm sitting here and I'm talking to Andre again, and I look at the center table in the FGA office to see where, because I left my bag either on the table or chair. I don't remember vividly. And when I look, I don't see it. I see it on the floor. And I motion to go get my bag. As I motion, Basil looks at me naturally because, like, why are you creeping up on me? And I respond, and I'm like, "Oh, you put my bag on the floor." Very simple, like, clarification. To which the director said, "Well, what did you say?" And then I clarified innocently by saying, "Oh, I wasn't talking to you." And then he felt the need to say, "This is my jurisdiction. If you want to say something to my legislator, you have to go through me." And then I was like, 0 to 100. And I was like, "Okay, it's an open committee. Anyone's allowed to be here. I wasn't talking to you. Nobody was talking to you. Like, it's not that big of a deal." He keeps trying to have a conversation with me and like basically be like, "Oh, this is my committee. You can't talk unless you're talking to me. You're disrupting my committee." And I'm like, nobody was talking to you. I was talking to you. I just wanted to get my back. Like, leave me alone. Like, no one's talking to you. And then I try to go sit down. I'm sure you're all aware of that couch, like right next to the board in the FGA office. The table sits next to it, right, on one of the rolling chairs. He was sitting on one of the chairs that roll, and I wanted to sit on the couch. He moved his chair to essentially like block my path. And then I'm like, "Excuse me, I'm trying to sit down." "Whoa, excuse me, I'm trying to sit down. Can you move your seat?" He says, "Say please." I'm taken aback. "Say please." I'll repeat my question again because this is like the third time I'm trying to like keep it cool. I say it again. I say, "Excuse me, I'm trying to sit down. Can you move your seat?" He says, "Say please" again. I'm like, all right. I'm not falling for the bait. I grab his seat. I push his seat forward, and then I slip through to sit down. And then immediately he goes, "Now you're getting physical, and I'm going to report to ethics." And then I said, "Go ahead." Because I didn't do anything to you, I didn't touch you, I didn't say anything to you. I just wanted to sit down. I wanted to get my bag. I wanted to just sit there. And every step of the way, you've been like trying to get a reaction out of me, trying to talk to me. And so he keeps like essentially rage baiting me, talking about like my past cases with ethics, throwing it in my face, saying, he said, "Quote, remember the last time you ran to ethics? How did that work out for you?" And I was like,
You have 9 minutes.
"Oh damn, sorry." And I'm like, "Well, like, leave me alone." The whole time I'm like, "Leave me alone." And it was just one of those days where I couldn't hold it in anymore. And I like blew up and I was like, "Leave me alone." Da, 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 da. But this Trubot comes in because the other director goes to go get Drubak from his office to kind of intercede. And then Drubak comes in. I explain the entire situation in front of the director, everything. And Drubak's response was, he tried to like calm things down, and then at a point he was like, "Mateo, my bad." He was like, "The director, get behind me." Next thing I know, he's telling the director to get in his office. And the director's still speaking to me. And I'm like, "You're not going to shy away from the conversation that you started." And so I follow him into the office to continue the conversation that he started. And apparently, allegedly, Drew up whispered into the director's ear, "I'm scared for your safety." And then SORT officials were involved, and the director was escorted out of the building. And then I was very, I stood outside, I sat outside of Drew Up's office, and I kept repeating, "You wanted to have a conversation with me so bad, you're going to have this conversation with me." Because I feel like if you're provoking me, you have to like continue like talking to me. You can't just provoke me and then play the victim. And then I went on Instagram because I was really frustrated, and I said, "And it will be on site." When I said that, I don't know if you guys are conversant with AAVE. I said that as in when I see you, we're going to continue the conversation. Given the context of when I was talking to him, it's like in the office, I kept saying, like, "Why would you do this knowing you're going to see me tomorrow? Like, we're going to see her. Like, you can't run away from something that you started." That was the intended meaning. And then the director called the cops on me, and then yeah, I kind of OSC case, and yeah, never here. And the whole time, and then I was dismissed because of egregious ethics. I was dismissed for egregious ethics violations when he does not have the power to interpret ethics violations. That's for the ethics committee. He has no business with that. I feel like that was a gross misuse of power to protect his friend. Because let's be honest, ever since the situation happened, there has been tons of support from the president to one particular person, even though he understands the context of what happened. His friend was rage baiting me. He knew everything that happened, but he chose to support one person and fire the other, even though Drew Rock himself yelled at our speaker in front of everyone here and disrespected him. He faced no consequences, but all of a sudden he's the first one to say, "Ethics violation." But yeah, 6 months. That was it.
Yeah, this whole session was 13 minutes, so there's about 5 minutes left for questions. So,
Oh, damn. So,
Do you have something else you want to say? Anything else to ask questions from?
yeah, ask questions, please.
Go ahead, Kevin. Have you guys been finding that? Peter?
Okay, I'll try to vote. So I wanted to touch on this point. That the ethics committee and Pablo weren't involved, weren't called out. Were you aware that there was any outreach at any point with your relationship with this person where there was an attempt to reach out to ethics?
Yes, I did reach out to ethics, and I told them this was in response to the whole she was aggressive. I feel like I think I remember them maybe saying they called me unprofessional and whatever, but I'm not gonna say that because I don't remember that specifically. I did like give a statement, and I was like, "I don't know where this is coming from." I feel like my answer was very neutral. Like I did say that, and I said I felt like I feel like I was singled out. Like it's crazy that he used the singled out thing against me, but he was the one who was singled out. He asked a question and I answered it. Somehow I'm aggressive and I'm singling people out for answering a question.
So you received like a warning from ethics?
No, from Juba. This is him again playing the ethics committee, and then I followed up with the ethics committee.
And did they investigate the situation?
Yes, they did.
Did they make any changes or make a decision about that?
I know I spoke to the ethics committee because I had to give a statement about my side of the story, and then they told me like in confidence, like they were like some people in the ethics committee were there when it happened, and they're like they'll look into it because they don't remember any aggression. That's what I was told.
Okay, I'll leave some time for my questions. Second.
yes, okay.
I'm not sure, this was mentioned in a previous closed session, but I didn't want to reference it, or did I kind of say that?
Okay, let's go there, Andre.
In regards to the OSC violation, there were apparent reports that you pulled a gun.
There was no gun. There was no gun.
Citizen,
There
it was just a straight up fabrication.
was just fabrication. There was no gun.
So we have a perjury on the table now.
Yeah.
Go to the left.
I just have a point of information.
Thank you for bringing that up. Apparently, I've seen comments on Fizz or people, not Fizz, sorry, Yik Yak, where they're like, I held him at gunpoint. That did not happen at any point in time. There was no gun. Like, I don't know where the gun is.
This is point of information for the I lost.
Wait, what was the OSC report? Like, what is that?
Oh, so I was reported, someone made a referral to, the director made a referral to the Office of Student Conduct. And I can read out my charge.
Can you read where it states that you may have early?
No, the director never said that I had a gun, but people have been running the narrative.
Okay.
Yeah. The director did say I was aggressive like multiple times, like an alarming amount.
Okay, Jordan?
It's more of a statement than a question, but I think there is enough to impeach Drew Lock. I mean, he came here last week and he lied to all of us. He said one side of the story and not the other, and then he said there was death threats and things like that. And then he just came in and he was demeaning to us the entire time last week we spoke. He was he was standing there, he was telling us, I don't have to tell you anything, you know. He's using his power a lot more than I think he should. And I think there's a lot of reason for us to impeach him because of that.
And also keep in mind, I feel like I was dismissed due to Zachary said retribution because I was the only director fighting for directors to get paid. I was open about it. I shared information that Drubak was not willing to share with you, how much he gets paid, how the process would be if directors could get paid, if it's possible. He was not sharing this information. And like a lot of the times when I would talk to him about it, it was like he hated me, like because like
Just under 2 minutes left.
Yeah, another thing to note when coming with the line from the last closed session, also the condescending tone towards specifically I and Mesa, who were the key parts of the side during last closed session. Just the condescending tone was like, oh, I'm doing this out of my goodwill. I don't have to tell you guys. And just somebody who is supposed to be the leader and the face of the Student Government Association, that is supposed to be the face of the student body. It's just that person is not fit to lead, in my opinion, and the opinion of many others that are here, whether in the chairs or on this legislative.
Move over to Zachary.
Yeah, yes, I would just like to ask briefly, would you be willing, of course, this would have to be with the agreement of the other director as well, to have the recording shared, even in a closed context or open context?
I would love to have that recording shared because he took that recording without my permission. And after the 3 incidences of me sitting minding my business, he didn't record that. He didn't record when I just picked up my bag and I wanted to go about He didn't record that. He didn't record when he told me that I have to say please to him before I sit down. Mind you, I'm an adult. He didn't record all that. He started recording when I was fed up. Keep that in mind. He strategically started recording after he rage baited me and said and weaponized ethics against me. Literally confessing to saying, I'm just gonna start making shit up because he said, oh, now you're literally to my face. He said, now you're getting physical when I didn't do anything, and then start. You see what I'm saying?
The weapon that you have something to add.
So keep that in mind when you review the evidence.
Thank you.
Point of information? Cindy, do you have a point of information?
So whether or not you think they said that
Wait, hold on, wait.
call him into a different office, like banging on the door or
So
trying to is that
no one tried to hit him. No one at any point in time tried to hit him. Even when I was yelling at him, I remember at the point he was like, "Oh, you can't hit me." He said that. He said, "You can't hit me. You can't do anything to me." I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna use my life on you." I like, whoa. I said that to him, so he knew. Like at that time, he said, "You're not gonna hit me," and I said, "Yeah." So anyway, I have rheumatoid arthritis, so I can't use my hands. I don't knock on doors. I do this. I've always done it. You can either pull up my health history for you. So me knocking on the door, it's like he's talking to me. He's recording me. He's trying to take pictures of me, and I'm on the other side of the door. I'm trying to get his attention.
We don't have time.
I'm so sorry, guys. So yes.
Okay, so where we are right now, procedurally wise, we are out of time for the committee of the whole. So the only option at this point is either to extend the time, which would require a 2/3 majority, or to end the committee of the whole, which is called rising and reporting, which also requires a 2/3 majority. So leaving that to the legislature.
motion to rise for door? What if farmers
Wait, are you guys like the actual unions who feel like they have
That's a problem.
Tucker, I have a question.
She says like,
You have a question?
I don't want to see.
Okay.
Since we just got Moby's permission to view the recording and we heard details earlier, are we allowed to just extend it to see the recording and then go back to keep the regular?
You showed the recording to the legislature.
I think we all want to see the question.
I don't know about all this wanting to see it, I'm just not sure the how it's gonna benefit us. Not exactly.
I was just asking questions.
She wants to see it,
Okay, so like I said, you're out of time for the committee of the whole. So either we write a report or we extend time for the committee of the whole. Okay, so there are two contradictory motions on the floor.
Motion to rise and for moving to a closed session.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's something you can do as well. So if you're a motion to read or enter a closed session, the audience will have to leave once again. So, okay, but the motion is on the floor. So if there aren't any objections to the motion, we will now enter. Yeah. We object. Yeah. You can't just promote. Would you object if you have any debate?
So just.
I said, should extend time for the report for writing the report and go into closed session.
Yeah, shake the room. Great question around the floor to go to Phyllis. Please, like, or she's like,
Yes, leave the microphones if we're gonna have a discussion.
Sorry, guys.
Since you're an objector.
So I take some of the objection, but I think we could extend the time that essentially benefit everyone. So we can like serve all of our needs, sorry, not to. I don't want the general audience. Are you watching the recording? I'm not putting on that, but
So,
you want to watch because like, position right before.
okay, do you have to go? Yes.
I believe the director said that in addition to both parties consenting, they would also, the student product might also be involved, so I don't know even if we, motion to enter a closed session and.
Yes, I recall. Because, no, because as the director said, he would have to clear his by OSC and would be a sensitive information and then hand it over to the proper authorities.
So if we do the recording, we also do the air music.
We can't.
Oh.
Because like you said, I let you move house. Asking them to
Oh, okay.
Other question. But then we write in recording this open session and not watch video, go back to the vote.
So if you write a report, technically we're gonna go back to the debate that we were having in regards to the direct call for impeachment and subsequent investigation.
And that's an open,
That is open, yes. So there is a motion to rise and report. Do you still like to add it in closing closed session or? Okay, there's been a motion to rise and report, you second the motion? Okay, so we've not entered your voting, all those in favor? And just to let you guys know, rise and reporting means we're going out of the meeting of the whole. Okay, all those opposed? All those abstaining? With a vote of 25-0-1, this motion passes. So we are now out of the committee of the whole. We are back to the debate that we were having before. The affirmative says you're now looking to call the question since you're deciding how much time left. That also requires. So just to clarify, the motion to call the question essentially says we will now be answering the question on the floor, which is the direct call for impeachment and subsequent investigation.
Can I object to that to extend the period of debate?
You can motion to extend, but yes.
Extend debate so we can further talk about what we just started.
Okay, so since there's been a motion to extend the date. You better decide your rules. It's still a lot of time, 2/3 in a row. Okay, so 2/3 of this body has to vote. So there is a motion on the floor to extend the date by how long?
5 more minutes for each side for now.
So 2.5 minutes each side. Oh, give me 10 minutes total, 5 each side. Okay, so there is a motion to extend for 10 more minutes. Okay, you'll not, I'm sure you're, unless there are any objections. Okay, seeing no objections, we will not enter your voting. All those in favor? This is a motion to extend the debate. 5 minutes on each side. Okay, so all those in favor of a motion to extend the debate for 10 minutes more. On the direct call for impeachment and subsequent investigation. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, please, all those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, all those abstaining? Okay. Yes, but we can get there once I finally count the vote. Okay, with a vote of 17 to 4 to 5, this motion to extend debate passes. So each side will be getting 5 more minutes. Okay, so since you were the last one, you were transferring.
Yes, sir, the transfer or position of chair will be now.
Okay, so the chair for the affirmative is not Alina. Would you still like to be the negative?
Not at this point.
I think, okay, let me take the negative. Okay, so in that case, since you were the one who checked the first suggestion of those further, declare you again.
Okay, so I'll address testimony we just heard as well as some of the previous concerns from the debate. So starting with the lesser concerns of the debate that Drew Rock maybe hasn't been fulfilling his duties in terms of work that he's doing and also in, making relationships with the legislators. I just think we should look at what he has done because honestly, he just gave his statement of address and there was a lot of substantial things that he has been doing so far. And also, as far as relationships with legislators, I don't think that's grounds for impeachment, especially, a newer legislator saying that it takes a while to build relationships and also in this organization, a lot of us aren't close, but that's something that we can work on more internally. That's definitely not grounds for impeachment. But in regards to a larger issue, we just heard Bofi's side of the story, and now we've heard both sides of the story, and this is my perspective. From what Bofi said, it seems like Drew Lock isn't as directly involved as we're thinking it is. I think, at least my perspective is this is a big issue between two of our officers. And as we just heard from Bofi, Drew Lock was brought into the equation once the situation was escalating. And in that situation, it seemed like he was fulfilling his presidential duties and de-escalating the situation by separating the two parties. And I personally didn't hear any evidence of him committing a direct act of microaggression in that situation. The one alleged thing that he said is completely alleged and it is hearsay, so we can't make a decision on that ground. And then moving on to Mofi's dismissal, it is per the bylaws that the student body president can dismiss someone at their discretion, and we don't. I wasn't here last week, so I don't know like the reasoning for that. But I don't think we should directly make assumptions now, just considering the fact that when Drew Rock was brought into the equation, it was at the point of which the situation has escalated, and at which we can assume that he saw, the moment of escalation in the office and definitely saw that as an issue. Um,
And then that's really all I have to say. I would like to back to the speaker for now.
And would the affirmative like to speak?
Yes, I seek to yield as much time as I may consume. Starting off with the sentence first point of state of the campus address. I like to point out that things such as like the safety walk and the fall break, those things are done and presented and voted on legislators, committee members, and our directors. Directors, committee members, and legislators do not need Drew specifically to carry out their duties. It's a matter of fact the other way around. I truly believe that the work that was presented was going to be carried out by the amazing directors that we have in our executive board and the amazing legislators that I have the pleasure of sitting with here today. And another thing, talking about the dismissal of Mofi, we can say that as president, it is your job to look at both sides, especially when both sides are within your executive cabinet. And the failure to do that with Mofi's dismissal, we can argue that that is just an abuse of power. It is a failure to look at things from both sides. As somebody who is meant to be a leader and a mediator in the situation, it felt like as if he was just taking sides by offering protection to the director of R&T rather than just trying to be a mediator. It was more like he was offering protection and sanctuary to just one director instead of offering that to both. So that is another issue that comes within the leadership and that we are allowed to question and remove if we see fit. And then another thing about the director of R&T not being held accountable to the same standard that the co-director or the former co-director of DEI was. That's another thing that we need to think about when we are voting on this call of impeachment and subsequent investigation. And then lastly, one more thing that I would like to mention is just the failure of fulfilling these duties as like being the only person who had that presidential title, being able to carry that. If you cannot carry out your work without your directors and your committee members, please forgive me if I sound a little nervous at the moment because you guys know this is my first time with educating them like a legislator. So please, I ask for grace. But I was calling to question his leadership, his ability to lead, especially people from different sides, central backgrounds, with a way that is unbiased, and also a way that is fair to both parties, not just fair, somebody that you are more friendly with, somebody that you have a closer relationship. Being able to sever those bonds in the points of executive power, just being able to take both sides, find the accountability, and hold everyone accountable equally instead of just dismissing somebody because they disagree with you, because they don't share the same opinions as you, and because they quote unquote egregious ethics violations that today we can aren't really as black and white as we initially thought they were. And I wish to yield my time to the chair.
I think we've reached a point where we have testimony from both sides. We fall into the point he said, she says, these type of arguments. At the end of the day, all we're doing is calling off this committee to get all the facts and make a decision based on that. I think it's very reasonable to say that with this kind of incident, it's important to at least make an effort to try to repair whatever can be. And if this is one of the steps that we can take to do that as legislature, I think it's important that we do so. Was that okay?
So this passes like
Hello.
it's just like it's being addressed look into what happened.
Yes. So a legislature cannot motion to impeach the president. That is not how that works. So what we're doing right now, this is a direct on the floor, it's a direct call for impeachment and subsequent investigation, which is a very long way to say that this is being mandated over to the ethics committee to investigate.
I just want to make a point on parliamentary procedure. The Constitution says the legislature, by 3/4 vote of its membership, may bring impeachment proceedings before the governance board for dereliction of duty against appointed or elected officers of any branch or arm of the SGA. So it's the governance board, not the ethics committee.
Did you want it?
So he's acknowledged, but I will say, I think it's in the bylaws. The legislature can do. Hold on, see if I can find it. So the ethics committee, and one of the duties and responsibilities of it, section 6, what our portion is. Article 5, Section 6, subsection A, line 4, subsection A. It says to conduct impeachment investigation through an ethics case following a direct call for impeachment by an SGA member and a subsequent simple majority of the legislature to initiate an investigation and a petition of 50 undergraduate members of the student body. Could you repeat the motion that's on the floor? A direct call for impeachment and subsequent investigation. Okay, thank you. And I will say I counted it up, and these are 119 signatures from students. I hope your answer question is answered. Okay. So the affirmative is still speaking, so it's only good to you actually. Ellie, do you recognize anyone to speak?
Andre, give us your.
I would like to agree with the Cambridge representative that this is again not a direct call to impeach, it is a call for ethics to conduct a thorough investigation. And since we have now all seen, for the most part, or all the facts, I think we can all agree that we should allow ethics to do its job in its full capacity to hold whoever needs to be held accountable. If the president doesn't need to be held accountable, then he won't be held accountable. It's quite simple. I use my time.
Okay, it goes back to me.
I disagree with Andre. I feel like people within this SGA, specifically our former DEI co-directors, were held overly accountable for their actions, while the other people present within that situation had zero accountability whatsoever. Their positions are not effective. What they do, they still go around day to day as if basically nothing happened. Even though, in my opinion, with the committees that I sat on and that I met with, I do believe that our co-DEI director does share the most passion, the most drive. And I feel like it was wrongful for her to be removed based on what we thought was death threats, which were then proven to be not true. And then her quote unquote egregious ethics violations, which we can now see are, I don't know if this is a shared sentiment with the SGA, but I feel like she should be getting praise. I don't think that there should be zero accountability whatsoever, but the most her removal is unjust and an abuse of power. I yield my time now. Okay, I recognize.
Other people are. That's what I mean. Would you?
Yeah, I recognize.
Affirming. You have to wait.
Anybody for the affirmative?
Can I put information?
Yes.
Has this body heard what the egregious ethics violations are?
It was the disrespect of the space where SGA operated and on the member of themselves.
Is that written somewhere that we can have access to?
Yeah. The ethics handbook. I recognize the public health representative. I use my time. It's public health.
I also just have
Sure.
if it did pass and go through, what would be like the next step?
So the next step, if the direct call passes, that is up to ethics, the ethics committee. So they will, by mandate of the legislature, begin investigating this direct call for impeachment.
Yeah, so I'm saying like, if they investigate, does it come back to us to vote on?
So interestingly enough, it's actually up to the ethics committee themselves if they would like to do a public hearing. But as far as I know, that takes a majority of the ethics committee to agree to. So it really does depend on what ethics committee and their members agree to. If they want to bring the proceedings to the legislature or if they'll handle that internally. Yes.
Point of information, what were the specific, like, can we have like articles, clause numbers of the specific violations? Like, is that written somewhere,
Yes.
like within her dismissal?
It was in an email from Javon to mostly execs.
I think if you check the channel for DEI in Slack, you'll be able to find the.
I haven't. Do I have permission to read out loud as a point of information?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna read the whole thing from student body rec president.
Wait,
Hello.
you know, so
Just a point of clarification, sending exactly, what was sent and the specific sections that were violated in legislature checks.
oh, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have permission to read it as a point of information. Allow, so we,
Okay, sure.
okay. Hello, Mofi. I'm writing to inform you that per my authority as student body president, you were dismissed from your role as co-director of diversity, equity, and inclusion for the UMD SGA. This decision is a result of egregious violations of the following provisions of the SGA Accountability and Ethics Handbook that occurred on Tuesday, November 4th. Article 2, Section 1, Subsection A. Members should not single out other members of the organization in a public setting without first making every effort to do so privately. 2. SGA members should treat the work environment with the respect that members would treat their own personal environment, or they would expect others to treat their own personal environment. Article 2, Section 4, Subsection B. SGA members shall strive to their best ability to make all members and non-members feel comfortable and welcome in the organization. Article 2, Section 8, Subsection A. 2. SGA members shall respect the university, their peers, and themselves. 3. SGA members shall respect and adhere to the provisions of the student law code. And just to, I speak to you as much time as I may consume, just to ask a question to the general body here. Based on these 3 articles, or these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points already, do you think based on these that Mofi is the only person that should be dismissed, just based on these ethics rules or accountability and ethics handbook, you really judge that Mofi should be, if we're going to play the accountability game, you're thinking that Mofi is the only person that wrote these violations? Just a rhetorical question for you guys to think about, because I personally do not.
Okay, so we have 22 seconds.
I seek to yield. Actually, no, I yield as much time to this human as representative Andre.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as much time as I take, I would also like to let it be known that as a result of the incident, there has been online inflammatory speech that has been exclusively directed towards the former director of DEI. Swiss race based, I do not know for certain, but I do believe it is, and I do believe that the time.
Thank you. We will now go over to the negative.
I yield my time to the public policy representative.
So I agree with Ashton that we need an investigation that allowed us to have more time where to get to it in this meeting. So I will say that what I'll object to with the current motion is the call for impeachment, where I think I'm really going to support it as a call for investigation. And I want to let that be known, but I do think that
But then it is investigation, like if an impeachment is for procedure in the Congress. So
Oh, sorry. I'll hold it off for what's that?
for clarification, it is in fact just a call for investigation at the end of the day. If it becomes impeachment, that is up to the ethics committee to decide. We are just essentially forcing the ethics committee to do a full investigation.
Could you clarification? Can we call for just an investigation?
As far as I know, for the bylaws, I don't think that's something that we can do. It would have to be like independently from anyone in the legislature or anyone within the SGA to report this to the ethics committee, and then they would handle it. But this is kind of, from my understanding, essentially bypasses that first step of people individually having to report to the ethics committee, and instead of the legislature itself telling the ethics committee to hold an investigation. And as the Stephen F. representative said, this does carry essentially the mandate of telling the ethics committee to investigate for impeachment as well. But it would be depending on what ethics decides. It could be just impeachment, or it could be the entirety of the case. And for this is up to the ethics committee to decide.
all right. Well, that was finished up because that was unfair.
Yeah, so I appreciate Diego and Andre. And I just wanted to say about the language, so there's no confusion about doing it's not that.
Yeah, so just going back off that, I think, at least I am going to object because I think just submitting an individual request for an investigation would kind of get what we want to out of this because this motion for investigation for impeachment is essentially giving the idea that the legislature wants to impeach Drew Lock. However, from what I'm hearing from all of you guys, is we want an investigation to see if what he did is grounds for impeachment and to get the recording and the reason why she was dismissed and everything like that. I think we should be careful before submitting a motion that kind of gives the notion that the legislature, the entire legislature wants the president impeached.
Point of clarification, based on your vote, it doesn't show that the entire legislature, you're still free to vote however you want. Whether it's affirmative or negative, if the call is passed or not, it's not affecting the entire legislature. You can pick however you want to go. I don't see how the rest of the legislative body affects that or how it reflects the whole entire legislature.
So point of information, I have another one. Also, there's 119 petitions to go along with the legislative body.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Senator. We've had one for office here.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think people are trying to like down that second day. It's just like investigation, like we're just like doing this just as like the right thing to do. And there is a chance to conduct that investigation. But this is very clear. If this passes, it's essentially saying that legislator, hey, Trenton, you may want this to happen. I don't believe it's in our best interest to happen. I don't agree with this. And basically, we cause that you know that we have an intent to impeach the president of the student body. I don't believe we have that intent. I think that the intent is justified. No, we're not just calling for an investigation here. We're going to keep and speak up.
The affirmative or
Yes. Sorry, I thought I was right. You cannot. Just.
Point of order, it's like a debate tactic.
that's what that was.
That was not exact. That was not a.
It's the legal, it's,
Misunderstanding.
I think that was a.
but, or, no, but debate tactic is like, or, it's just like the word they use during, like, parliamentary procedure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very loosely termed by it. So, sorry, I mean, I guess that's whatever.
No,
Let's try this.
no, that's fine, it's just like, you can have a,
Okay, what's your thought?
Did most not be the past that it's me to conduct an investigation and it only come from you. That's what she said. So from what I'm hearing, they're not maybe to do anything. She's someone who recorded from do anything. That is true. All recorded and they don't do it.
That is true.
They're very important.
So that is true. There's nothing that makes me want to take out and say, wait, that is true.
When I'm hearing they don't do it. So it's already recorded.
Okay, so since we're speaking out of order, I'll just deduct 30 seconds from the timer.
so I just meant to give a reason, point of order.
Okay.
Offense or.
Point of order.
No, it's no, I was just providing a justification, not against you.
Okay, so Claire, do you recognize Zachary Steve? Were you still speaking?
Yes.
Like,
Okay.
yeah, so, it does, like, the language of this maps, right? I mean, it is a word impeachment, is, I think it, damages sort of the work and legend executives are doing side by side. And in turn damages all the amazing directors of our executive branch who are working alongside the supervising president, working to implement the initiatives, amazing initiatives, that have been spearheaded by the executive branch. And I think, yes, and again, there was an investigation initiative, and anyone, by the way, it's good to initiate and have this investigation at any time. I mean, all of you, if you'd like to initiate individual, I don't believe it's, but could.
What's your point?
One clarification, and if something was already submitted, it was denied. This motion is to force ethics to do the investigation that every student body wants.
you will, I just want to say, I mean, you guys know the outcome of said investigation. If they rejected the investigation, their opinion is no. So you're essentially just calling my opinion, so you want investigation, so you're back to them. I mean, maybe they'll accept it, maybe reject it, whether no new information is provided, they'll just reject it again. And so the idea is whether, I'm not sure parliamentary requires where that goes from there, but essentially, I mean, we're just sort of trying to go around that, it's kind of independent thorough investigation. There's really, like no way around just saying that this is like disunity and a schism from these ends.
Time is up. Time for the negative forms up. I would say just for a point of information in regards to what happened, ethics cannot refuse to investigate. This is a mandate, like an actual motion from the legislature for them to investigate. What happens at that point, it is up to them to determine if this is an impeachable offense or whatever the subsequent investigation will reveal. So, again, it is on ethics to decide what the proper course of action is here. And I will say both sides are disputing the point. Okay.
Sorry, you just covered this, but just to clarify, so ethics, the only action we can take if we this motion or we pass this call for impeachment is they can either decide to impeach or they decide not to. Do we have the ability to do any like other sanctions or would that happen separate? Thing?
Ethics, as far as from my reading of ethics handbook and what the powers it is given within the bylaws, does have a lot of discretion to determine how it will handle the investigation and who it will, punish or sanction in said investigation. But like I keep saying, ultimately it is up to the ethics committee to decide, what the proper course of action is.
One clarification. I'm just curious. I think you said earlier there's a hearing that not to after the hearing.
Like I said before, it depends on the ethics committee, but if they would like to, they are free with a simple majority within the ethics committee itself. It is composed of 6 people, chair and vice chair. From the people within the simple majority, 3 of them would have to agree to, hold the hearing in front of the legislature. So again, that is up to ethics to determine.
So what is next steps?
Okay, go ahead.
I table this until the next GBM. The reason being because we still have a lot left on our agenda, and I personally feel like we don't have enough information to make any decision. Because I have not personally, I have never spoken to the director of R&D or even the director of DEI, and there's still a lot of holes in the story. I wouldn't be confident making this either way.
So I will say you can't table a motion. So the motion has it's on the floor right now. Like the time is up. So at this point, there's now been a motion to call the question. So since there's been a motion to call the question, this is forcing the body to vote. And I will say this is the final decision. If this body will, pass this direct call. Just to let you guys know, this is like the final. We're answering the question right now. There's no more objections or any debate. So all those in favor? All those in favor of the direct call for impeachment and subsequent investigation. So you're gonna raise the vote. Please have it up. We're voting for the direct. Okay. Please put your finger up. 8. Okay. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay. With a vote of 8, 5 to 13, this direct call passes. We will now move on to where we left off before, which was update from the directors of health and health.
Hi,
basically we met with the health center and Dr. Bernardus yesterday. We discussed several useful health initiatives as well as the American Hygiene campaign. The UHC is planning for this semester. And one thing that we want to do on our end for NG is potentially qualify some hand sanitizers and some of the flyers and posters that they wanted to put up for that. So that's one thing that we talked about. Another thing we talked about is vaccine awareness for including COVID and potential tabling to raise awareness for that. We additionally talked about the UHC fee and had another meeting with the graduate student government today to discuss it further. And based on the conversation today, it seems that the graduate student government is more willing to discuss this further. So we're making some progress on that. And then we also discussed the 100 health module with the health center and finalizing the slides for that by the end of the semester. Tomorrow we have a meeting with Brackwell to overview the health module as well as every other physical health initiatives. And this week our meeting unfortunately with Dr. Joshi is canceled due to unforeseen circumstances, but I just listed some of the things that we've been consistently working on with the counseling setup. So yeah.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the director? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Another one. There's a simple game around others.
Hi guys, happy Thanksgiving and good time for Tuesday. Okay. Last week was the National Student Food Summit where we got some different ideas for things we can do here at the University of Maryland to increase our voter participation. So I'm excited to start working on that. Then our meeting with Senator Rosenberg got got rescheduled from today till sometime the week of December 1st. We're going to talk about same-day voter registration in municipal elections and the Maryland State Board of Elections to change the format of their online voter registration system to match the format of the paper application. So that we can introduce legislation with him for the upcoming general session. I also wanted to highlight the Chobsco return and ambassador applications. You can read more about there, and the application is also linked. And additionally, if you're planning on collaborating with Chobsco to discuss the committee's perspective on the 2026 online action plan, or most likely be December 4th. It will come to our committee, so if you're interested in that, you can come to that. And please, if you have any updates or anything that you would like to share, I'm the chair of the Standard Student Advisory Board, and in that role, it's my responsibility to share updates that the Student Government Association is working on. So if you have anything at all that you feel is cool or might want me to highlight, please write it. And that goes as well for the members of the cabinet. Let's not find out though. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
The early legislative session was last week, so thank you everyone who testified. And the final vote will be, it was not that night, mostly because there was like a ton of people who testified, which was really great. But the final vote will be Tuesday, December 9th, that's the council meeting at 7:30 at City Hall.
Okay, are there any questions for the director? Seeing none, thank you so much. Okay, we want to move on to the directors of SMB. So the directors are
So just for some updates, we had a meeting with the chair and we were finalizing what the subsidy flyer is gonna look like that we're gonna post in all residence halls. We also have a meeting with Dean Coleman on December 10th to discuss the University Senate resolution we're working with Joanne. Statement, and then also we had a
meeting with the resident hall director, and she was really supportive and also gave us information of all like the welcome packets, so we can work with them for distributing flyers and SMU related resources. And then also for the APTS conference, we finalized our programming packet, such as that we've done and the notes that we have, so it's all right. And that's it. What are you This is a question that I've mentioned a lot of the shit for the events in the awareness about research. From her getting to that's never legal operation.
Okay, see, thank you so much. Now move on to the directors of student groups. Is it director of student groups turn?
Let's
Yeah, sorry.
Alright. Initiatives, first and second look fair pamphlet, currently working on this. Attended student groups meeting and events from Tripling. Attended student groups meetings and events from Tripling. Created a spreadsheet. It's not charming right now, but I'll fix it later. Ask directors for updates to share with student groups if it's relevant to that organization. Encourage my committee members to attend with me if a club is part of their constituency group. Ask Diego if this can count as monthly outreach event which committee members will begin attending next week. Room booking expansion, made suggestions to the charter that we sent to the Cobos to BPSA, which will help find space in academic buildings for student groups to utilize. Other initiatives to recognize the groups, meetings, bi-weekly meeting with Megan about student group updates on 11/12, met with trustees from short development. Focusing on fundraising resources for student boards. We'll stay in touch with her and share information with student boards. Give visits in the next leadership summit, meeting tomorrow for 15 to 5:30.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now move on to the director of student groups.
Who is here?
Yes.
Everyone, it's a really long evening. I do have a quick question to ask you all. We do have complaint tabling that SJ is supposed to be hosting this week. I was wondering, do we have complaint tabling today?
There should be 215 and 50.
And there should be. So who went?
Let me see.
It's okay. We don't have to pull out the spreadsheet because I know exactly who was supposed to go. My issue right here is that we just spent maybe 3 hours like talking about accountability and like representing the student legislature. And right here for student affairs, we have complaint tabling that was supposed to occur this week. There's supposed to be 1 hour of listening to the student complaints. If I could, I would be here helping you set all this up, but I was in lab. So like there was no Slack message to me, there's no Slack message to Diego or Drubak, I don't assume. So this just fully, this just didn't happen. Right?
As far as I can tell, it not.
So I just think that like when you guys look at your position here within SGA, yes, it's important to figure out the internal affairs, but like how are we representing ourselves to the actual whole student body? This is just an outreach event. So I understand like if your name is not on there, oh, you're like, well, I was not responsible for this. I understand. I think only 2 people signed up for this. But like my thing here is that you should be accountable for these things. This is why you sit on here. This is also an outreach event opportunity, and I don't know who's tracking you. Like, I don't know if there even is a spreadsheet to track whether you got that 1 point or not per month, but this is an opportunity for you. So, like, not only that, I'm very upset to not even see that many names for Thursday. And Thursday better happen because I'm on the podium like talking to you guys, right? Does that make sense?
Does.
This is on the SGA like Instagram page. So I don't think the chances are high, but just that 0.1% of somebody looking at that and being like, okay, I'm free at Wednesday at this time, let me go to the Cal, right? And then they show up to nothing. So like that's kind of what I just want to avoid from here on out, because this is the responsibility that we should be up first and foremost. And then we consider all the internal workings. Does that make sense? Okay. I don't want to hold you guys for too long. Last week I wasn't here because I think it also took a while and I had to leave early. For dining services, there has been a lot of pushback against takeout meals. So what we're doing right now is potentially creating a survey. I know it's very passive, but I think what they want right now is a little bit of research and statistics to back up the idea of even funding takeout meals. Yeah, college.
Thomas, can you hear me? Like, or I was just wondering, like, what was the pushback from diet services?
I have a second. So they don't idea of having to take out meal per se. We have to call it a takeout snack, which I didn't dig further into. But let's just call it a takeout snack 2.0. There are some issues with shelf stability. They're concerned that if a student were to take like a cold wrap back and there's some sort of like condiment content on it, and they don't have a spot to like store it overnight and decide to eat it the next day, then dining halls will have to face student complaints of food poisoning. So that's one issue. In addition to that, we were very worried about how we would manage the sustainability aspect of it. How are we going to wrap these items, and then how are we going to dispose of this trash? They did mention during COVID when dining halls were closed and they had to do takeout boxes. There was a lot of overflowing trash cans and bins within residential halls, as well as like the outside streets, because students would basically just throw these containers out of their window because there was no place to put it. In addition to that, one of their suggestions was if dining halls were to create like some sort of sandwich meal to take back, they would have to shut down the station within each dining hall. And those stations are within 251, the burger station, within Whitehall, Joe's Grill, and then within South, the So this is something that I was talking about with my committee yesterday, but I think the idea is that we do not want all 3 of our big stations to be closed down for all of next week.
Can I make another comment?
Yes.
I'm just kind of curious because I have like friends at other universities, and those universities do have like takeout meals. So I don't know, but this is more directed towards them. But I don't understand why they're being so hard. I guess I'm not sorry.
Yeah, this comes into the feasibility aspect. They are very like green takeout box systems. Typically, if you're looking at American University, they use Aussie. This is expensive to implement for us right now, and in addition to that, they don't have the physical space. Because in order for us to have like, I don't know, 10K takeout boxes, we would have to wash and reuse. You have to take out a whole spot within every dining hall in order to wash that. And as of right now, they say that they don't have the capacity or funding or staffing to support that. One additional note that they did mention was that in their ears, they told me that they had never heard of this complaint of wanting to take out meals and take out boxes. And so that's why I'm pursuing the survey route and really just gauging student opinions. Do you use that? Okay, let's go on to any other question. Thank you so much.
Okay, we want to move on to the Director of Sustainability.
Hi guys. Okay, so
Sustainability tabling was complete, both complete total flop on my list, but you know, it's okay, we can win. Shout out to Sarnia and Hanya though, you guys got this. It's sad. I've been in close contact with the graduate sustainability, or sorry, graduate government, and we're talking about sustainability fees. The timelines are totally mixed up, so it's not gonna be 2026, it's gonna be pushed into 2027, unfortunately. But that's the best I can do, so, I mean, at least they're still open to try, so I appreciate that. And then this Friday, I have a meeting about WordFest, so, that'll kick off to the spring semester. Are there any questions from the director? Keeping on, thank you so much. On to the last director, to directors of transportation and instructors.
Everyone, I'll try to make this quick. So Grant, we passed the bill for, engineering, the Institute Advisory Council is pretending that they don't advise the team on anything. And then they're like, oh, actually, we can't take a stance on this. So that's like the press that are about that. But anyone knows people, or just knows the contacts for the, CMS College DSAC, please let me know because I can bother them also. And then both deans of the engineering school and the CMS, are going to explain it so as the VP of University Relations, so it'll also start bothering it a lot. And also, if anyone knows, any like engineers who are like, you know, like supporting this issue for like reading, about like defense contractors or, like CMS students, like please email your dean or like email your like DSAC and like put as much pressure as you can to like get this done because like if we pass a resolution and then it just doesn't have anything that comes out of it, that's like CQ stadium lights, we're gonna go on first reading with you, Jordan. And for a survey to be clear. And then we're literally right now we're working both the safety law and the reports. So they should be done tomorrow week, hopefully. And then one update that's kind of not too minor, but I don't care. Is because I didn't, you know, you all passed this bill, the graduate revenue bill, to like for recognition. We're having a meeting with someone from the university system Durham tomorrow, so we're gonna go over why they haven't gotten any progress done on it.
And then for the facilities student advisory subcommittee, which is the committee that works on the proposals for the student facilities fund. There's gonna be 2 meetings in December, and they're finalizing the date for that. And the committee is open to any students. I know that they're looking, and the time commitment is usually 3 Zoom meetings a semester. And if you know anyone that would be interested in serving in that committee, just find them.
Sorry, also I forgot to talk about these votes. So CTAC is voting on like this to like fee increases in December, like early December. We don't have time, I think, to like pass a bill that like actually goes through the committee. And I think that doing something like this without going through committees, like having an emergency bill is really bad. Like, but basically what we can do and maybe just to get like a temperature check, is we can raise like 200, if we raise $225,000 through like a combination of increasing like the shuttle fee and like parking fees on campus, we can restore like a round trip on each of the commuter bus routes that DOTS operates because they have reserved the money to like do like everything except for like personnel, which is what they're requesting. And that would be $225,000. And that's like a it's not here. The resident is not. But when we talk about that range of how much the student fee would go up according to our recommendation if we do this is somewhere it's like $80. So would people support something like that to restore like ground trips for like DOTS commuter buses?
You're saying to increase the student fee by $8?
For
For say $8.
Yeah, would do that.
I mean, that's a job. Go ahead, Bob.
That's a good one.
Oh, I'm just saying I was for that.
Oh, okay. Exactly.
Is it an option just to charge these? Like, I don't know, I'm just quick outside here. Is it possible just to charge fares on our specific routes instead of not using up the, is that not?
I think that's prides themselves in being, I mean, like, this is a public interest.
Right.
Like, for fans, like, at any time, like, you know, we would absolutely like to crush or almost any limited ridership by asking people to pay for a service that they're not satisfied with in this place.
Okay, I'm thinking, I'm just wanting to say.
Okay, are there any other questions for Brandon? So none, thank you so much. Hey guys, it is 9 p.m., so we're going to speed run through first meeting calendar a bit. So first up, whoopsies, on computer. Okay, first up we have F29, F25 1119A, an act to publicize a survey inquiring about Syracuse Stadium, lights being on that night. The bill sponsor likes to give some words.
Yeah, it's really just in publishing, you know, survey about the stadium lights, so you can get those possibly turned off at nighttime because people are really killing balls to lights up sometimes. So
Thank you. Okay, this bill has been assigned to a primary committee of T&I, secondary of R&D, and a tertiary of comms. Now move on to F25 1119B, an act to hold a retention event at Studio A. Would the bill sponsor like to give some words?
Yeah, this is just the December retention event. We're in Studio A to paint over that.
Okay. This has been assigned to a primary committee.
Yes, I have a question. What is studio?
Someone has what is Studio A?
It's the place next to Turf Zone. It's like, I don't know, just painting like pottery stuff. But it's like on the basement. Yeah.
It's in-house. Okay. So we have F25 1119C that has to host the final mental health fair with the bill sponsor and give some words.
So this was actually something that was done last year as well, and there was a positive response to it. So I think it'd be good to just to let it go again, because I know that we, the people of this SGA, are struggling with finals, and our constituency is struggling just as much, if not more.
This bill has been assigned to a primary committee of comms and a secondary of health and wellness. Next side. And then the next bill is F25 1119D, a resolution calling upon University of Maryland College Park cease relations with the United Arab Emirates (UAE) due to their funding of genocide in Sudan and other human rights violations. Would the bill sponsor like give words? Okay.
I would actually like to table this bill for now because I reread it and I thought that one was insane anyway. I reread it and got some input and realized that this one is above kind of above our scope, to be honest. Two, it would unfairly antagonize many students for actions of a government they do not support. And it would third just generally be, in my opinion, performative. I believe that this bill needs support so that it can actually help other people instead of looking like a performative thing that's gonna go nowhere.
So I will say, if you table the bill, that means we're just kind of kicking the can down the road. You won't be able to.
Okay, so how do I say retract the bill slightly?
You're pulling the bill off. Okay, so in that case, pulling the bill. I'm not sure that's something. One second. Yeah, a bill can't be pulled at this point. So what I would recommend is just an omitting committee. Yeah, so this bill is going to primary student affairs, secondary academic affairs, and tertiary PEI. Can now move on to F 251119E, resolution urging University of Maryland College Park to recognize International Day for People with Disabilities. With the bill sponsor, I also like to give some words. Okay.
Alright, so this is a song about this year to my head as a disabled person. 1 in 4 people in the United States suffer from a disability. About 10% of students annually actively make use of disability accommodations, so the number is likely far higher. And the International Day for People with Disabilities is December 3rd, and I believe it would be good for the university to recognize that day for a community that anyone can become a part of at any time for any reason.
Thank you so much. The bill has on to primary comms, secondary of DEI, and tertiary of student affairs. There are no bills on second reading calendar this week, so we can just move on to executive updates. First up, we have a student body president.
Do you want to point out? Oh, sorry. All right, meetings coming up. The Association of Big Ten Students Conference, will leave on Friday and goes through Sunday. Senate Campus Affairs Committee. Larger announcements preparing for the annual Campus Pantry Food Drive and finals along with RHA and GSG. We'll need volunteers to table outside Kylan. Diego and Drew Bach agreed that due to the meeting for this recess, officers will be required next week.
Yep, that is true. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. We can now move on to executive vice president updates.
Okay, guys, my first update is basically talking about like the journalism school diversity initiative that I've been trying to do. So hopefully I will be organizing something with Melanie to like reach out to newspapers that are run by people of color and other like similar news organizations on campus. And then going with those people to visit local high schools, just like an SGA initiative, is what we're trying to do. And we have a meeting next week, actually, that I forgot to write. But yeah, super awesome. I also had a meeting today with dining services. And I have the meeting minutes linked in the document. Basically, I wanted to ask them if they could like donate extra meal swipes to students that are food insecure, and I learned that they just like started working on that. I also asked them about dining dollars because that was an initiative that a previous EVP tried to do as well. It's not feasible, but I think donating swipes is good. I also kind of to clarify something that was made in the state of the campus address. You know, I think we were all left with the impression after Cab to Cab that after our health and wellness directors asked very nicely and gave a really good presentation about why the campus pantry needs funding from the university, obviously. We were all left with the impression after what Pines and Perillo said that they would get that funding. But in my meeting today, I unfortunately learned from the director of dining services that neither Pines nor Perillo nor any university administrator at all reached out to the campus pantry about funding. So they were out here thinking, and they were telling me, they're like, so is SGA going to do something for us? And like stressing out about how they're going to pay the students that work to operate the pantry. And I was confused, and I told them, hey, didn't people tell you the university is going to fund you now? And no one told them, so they were left completely in the dark by our lovely administrators. So, I know I talked with them, and I think of feasible backup that we could do if admin doesn't
lock in if SGA could fund maybe like 1 to 2 skiing workers' salaries in spring. I know that's something like we could probably afford to do that. But realistically, I will of course be contacting Pines and Furlough about this because why would the university administration not be funding the campus pantry? Why would you not be doing that? And okay, so another thing that I've been in contact with Perillo is about like National Homelessness and Hunger Awareness Week. Um, and she mentioned it in an email she sent out to everyone, which is a really, really good first little baby step. Sorry. But like, I'm gonna keep asking them to lock in. The dining services was really, really receptive to the idea. Basically, right now we only have. Sorry, I'm talking so much and it's really late. We only have like 1 day food drives right now, but dining services is open to do week-long food drives during this week, which is the week before Thanksgiving. It's right now. Starting next year. So I will be in contact with Brian Perkins from Student Affairs about that, and I also have a meeting tomorrow with faculty. So yeah.
Any questions, Vice President? Go ahead, Olivia.
Yeah, just not a question, I have a suggestion to like hopefully drive more donations, hopefully, is maybe making like some friendly competition between other schools, see which schools can like donate the most and have like incentives like, oh, which school donates the most and they'll get this, and if not between schools, have it between like living like living in communities like Denton Quad, Heritage, and so just not just a suggestion, like making like some friendly competition to drop, hopefully get more donations, and then have incentives or like pillars that people can reach based on the amount of donations that they get.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I'll bring it up during my meeting with Brian Perkins. I know we were also talking about like at football games, how people like pull up for like free things. Like maybe like you have to donate a can of food to get a free shirt or something.
Okay, well, okay, seeing none, thank you so much. Okie dokie, we can now move on to common for the good of the council. We only have a few things in there to start our shout outs for all time. But before everyone starts getting ready to leave, I would like to just reiterate Jeffrey's message. If you guys do sign up for tabling, I expect you guys to actually go there and do your job. Otherwise, as Jeffrey was saying, it is a very bad look for us as an organization to say that we're going to do a tabling and then nobody be there. So I don't want to hear that again from a director. So just as a reminder to the legislatures.
So it's like really okay, really fast. Just something I kind of noticed and like going forward with like future issues. This should have been clarified, but I didn't think about it personally. When we're doing a simple majority vote, I just want to remind everyone that abstentions count as a yes or no. And I know like a lot of people like didn't know that, but like I'm a little disappointed because half of our legislatures didn't vote on this issue, and I just think going forward, we should have that in the back of our heads that when it's a simple majority, the abstentions count on whichever side has the actual voters. So just going forward, I just want to emphasize that we should be voting in those situations. That's all. Sure. Is that
So there's no clear where the student of the instructor and the student of the legislature that if we're going to speak about like taking accountability, we also put in the work ourselves, which is why if any of you are available tomorrow, please sign up. I'll check the times. If I'm available at any of those times, I'll sign up. I don't know if I am, but if I am, expect me to be there. And if I'm not, hold me accountable, please.
Thank you. We can now move on to start our Sure.
really quickly, I wanted to thank the legislature because you guys been working so hard today. And I'm actually so proud of you guys with those who did take a stand. Even those who did abstain, like your voices were still heard. I really thank you for just being the student voice that you guys have done for. So that's all I want to say. So
Much. Full mouth use.
Yeah, this week we only have one star power shout out. It's to Asya Ali. And it said, someone said, Asya has shown real star power this semester for leadership as vice president of finance affairs. She has taken charge of the entire district finance workload, supported committee heads as they learn each step of the process, and put consistent effort to make sure everyone understands budget cycles and deadlines. Her dedication, clarity, and steady guidance kept the team organized and confident, and she set a high standard for what effective financial leadership looks like. So shout out to Aseli. Still.
Just wanted to say shout out to you and also for just just keeping
Yeah.
Okay, we can move over to time. And first up, we have, let's see, all you Tasi actually. Can you get started?
Hi, okay, I'll be quick. So yeah, this is my week of travel. First I took him to work with me, so he got some physical therapy done on himself or herself, yeah. And then this is Ralph, dinner, and then Ralph put some gloves on, it's cold, so one glove. And then these are my classes: anatomy, health professional writing with off-campus neighboring, and then Ralph at my anatomy lab dissecting pi. And then this is I think my last full day with Ralph yesterday at my favorite committee, comms committee, with bigger Ralph, and then helping hand with that, which I would rather see you guys should come helping hand up. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Spin the wheel.
What's the sound? Oh,
Hey guys, I just want, oh, sorry, this is so close. I want to remind you guys that tomorrow is our November retention event. Please come out to Turp Zone. There's free pizza, free entry. You don't have to do anything. Even if you just want a slice, please stop by. Remember that you need to spend money on these, and the idea is that you guys can spend time with each other outside this food. So please come out. It's from 5 to 6. Oh, yes, 5 to 6 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mine's wrong.